He rescued a dog no one wanted, broken, silent, and half-frozen in the snow. Years later, that same dog would return the favor in a storm that no man should have survived. In the heart of Alaska's frozen wilderness, where silence cuts deeper than the wind, Daniel Blake lived alone and preferred it that way. In the outer rim of Alaska's Tongass forest, where frost etched the windows year-round and the wind howled like lost souls, Daniel lived alone in an old ranger's cabin. He preferred the quiet now. After losing his wife 2 winters ago, the solitude no longer frightened him. It numbed him. Elena had been his everything, the warmth to his winter, the steady flame to his uncertain journey. Cancer took her slowly, cruelly, and when the end finally came, Daniel fled. Not from grief, but from noise, the well-meaning voices, the empty condolences, the city lights too bright for mourning. He bought the cabin from a retired ranger and drove north until the road gave out. The rest he did on foot, alone, with a backpack and a blizzard for company. There, in the cradle of snow-covered pines and ancient silence, he found a strange kind of peace. It was early November when he first saw the dog. He'd been returning from a routine patrol when the wind changed. Snow started falling in thick, wet clumps, visibility dropping with every step. He pulled his coat tighter, scanning the tree line. Then he heard it, a high, pained whimper. Behind a collapsed pine, something moved. Daniel approached slowly. A dog lay there, filthy, half-frozen, its front paw twisted unnaturally. Pale eyes locked onto his. No growl, no bark, just a quiet, desperate stare. "Easy now," Daniel murmured. He wrapped the shivering animal in his coat and carried it back through the storm. That night, by the fire, the dog didn't move. Daniel cleaned the wounds, stitched the leg, and wrapped it. The dog winced, but never cried. Just watched him with that ghost-like gaze. "You're a quiet one, huh?" Daniel said, feeding it bits of moose jerky. He named him Ghost. Ghost never barked, never whined, just watched, always watched, as if remembering something he couldn't forget. But he never left Daniel's side. When spring came, the dog could have run, but he stayed. He followed Daniel on long hikes, helped track elk, even warned him once of a lurking grizzly. Each night, they sat by the fire. Daniel talked. Ghost listened. In the sound of crackling logs and occasional howling wind, they found comfort. Dan began to live again. He laughed sometimes, even sang to the radio when no one was around. And Ghost? He would tilt his head and thump his tail at the sound. For 3 winters, they were a pack of 2. Ghost's past remained a mystery. Daniel sometimes wondered where he had come from. The dog's instincts were sharp, too sharp. He knew how to avoid bear tracks, how to dig a den in deep snow, how to find the safest ice across a river. These weren't habits of a pet. They were the signs of a survivor. Daniel once found a rusted collar in the forest, cracked leather, the tag long gone. Ghost flinched at the sight. That night, Ghost had nightmares, pawing the air, whimpering in his sleep. Daniel sat beside him, whispering gently. He never brought it up again. It was early January when the radio broke. A freak storm had taken out the signal tower 40 miles south. Headquarters wouldn't hear from Daniel for weeks. He didn't worry. He'd survived worse. But the week after, a report came of a stranded tourist family up the ridge.
Press this bell icon.
Daniel strapped on his snowshoes, packed supplies, and told Ghost, "Stay. I'll be back in 2 days." Ghost whimpered. "Stay," Daniel repeated, giving his thick fur a ruffle. And then he was gone. The journey was brutal. The snowdrifts were higher than expected, and visibility dropped fast. Daniel found the family, a couple and their young daughter, cold but alive. He dug them a shelter, rationed supplies, and waited for a break in the weather. By the second night, his leg slipped between hidden rocks under snow and twisted with a sickening crack. He bit back the pain and made the call. They'd move out in the morning, but Daniel never made it back. 3 days passed, then 5. The storm returned with a vengeance. Ghost waited by the window, by the porch, by the trail. No sign of Daniel. On the 7th day, Ghost stood at the cabin door at dawn, looked back once, and then bolted into the snow. Ghost ran for hours, nose low, navigating by scent and instinct. He crossed cracked ice that groaned beneath his paws, skirted cliffs where the wind could snatch the breath from lungs, and hid from snarling wolves in the ribs of a fallen hunter's shack. He didn't eat, barely rested, but he kept running. By the 3rd night, he reached a steep gulch near Crowbone Pass. There, at the base of a cliff, partially covered by snow, lay Daniel, alive, barely. His leg twisted, face pale. Ghost whined and licked his face. Daniel stirred. Ghost? The dog curled around him, sharing warmth. They waited. 2 more days passed. Ghost climbed to a ridge and began to howl. Deep, eerie howls that echoed down the valley. By miracle or fate, a backcountry rescue team heard them. When they found Daniel, Ghost stood guard, teeth bared, refusing to leave until Daniel was loaded onto the sled. One of the medics whispered, "That dog saved his life." Daniel recovered slowly. While his bones mended, his spirit did too. He moved to a town near the edge of the forest, a place with neighbors and memories that didn't sting quite so sharply. But he kept the cabin. And every winter, when the first snow fell and the wind began its haunting song, he and Ghost returned. They'd hike through the forest again, Ghost older now, his muzzle gray, but his eyes still bright. One winter evening, as twilight painted the world in soft blue, Daniel stood outside the cabin, watching Ghost stare into the distance. The dog's ears twitched. Daniel listened too, nothing but wind. Then a faint sound, a howl. Not Ghost's, a new one. Ghost looked up at him, eyes questioning. "Go on," Daniel said softly. "I'll be here." Ghost paused, then turned and padded off into the trees. He returned the next morning, his fur brushed with frost, but his tail high. They never spoke of it. And when the fire crackled and the wind howled through the trees, Daniel no longer feared the noise, because he knew what waited in the silence between. Not emptiness, but loyalty, love, and a ghost who never left and never would. In the quiet between the wind's whispers, loyalty lives. In the depths of winter's cold, a bond forged in silence never fades. Daniel and Ghost, proof that sometimes the fiercest love comes from the wildest places. If this story touched your heart, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who loves stories of hope, wilderness, and connection. Thank you for listening. May you always find warmth, even in the coldest winds.